Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Hope we all having a good day so far. So I have to check something real quick. Start it when I do. Okay, oh good. Let's start with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, oh Father, thank you so much for the lessons we've learned through your word and I continue to learn and help us to understand them and to be able to apply them to our lives. We give you praise and thanks. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. We're continuing with our saga of the sins of the Jacobs family. And great lesson. And as I said yesterday or Friday, I believe that this is further proof that the Bible is written by God because typically when men write stories about themselves, they kind of sugarcoat certain things. And we can see here that this story was not sugarcoated in any way. And so I call this one the deception by his sons. Again, we talked about what happened to Dinah. Uh, one of a few daughters. That's the only one that's named of Jacob's family, but there's because it's portions that pluralize the name. They believe that he had more than one. But Dinah would have been the oldest of the girls. And but being of Leah, she had 4 or 5 older brothers. So it's interesting that in the time frame, it almost speaks volumes of certain things that down through history. I've always seen history as a pendulum. Sometimes as it swings one way and then another. Uh, and I think about some of the laws that came out of study of the Bible. We get into the Elizabethan era and even into the early colonies of America. Uh, when it came to courtship, it was a very organized, very strict way of courtship. Uh, and even in the Jewish traditions of Jesus' time frame, there was rules about how courtship was handled. And so some of these stories might be indicative of causing those to happen. And it's funny how we keep going back and forth. And I could definitely see that we should be looking at some of these ourselves when it comes to how free the relationship of men and women is, and even get to other areas of relationships when it comes to things that God definitely doesn't like. What I call Romans 1, because sometimes when you say those words, you get picked out for ridicule on YouTube. So I try not to use them too much. But if you read the latter part of Romans 1, you'll know completely what I'm talking about. Let's just say that the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is reminiscent of it. So, anyways, back to our lesson today. We're in Genesis 34. I'm going to try to take 12 through 19 today, and we should finish it up. And I actually might, because I took the last, I was going to try to do the whole 12 through, it goes all the way to 30, 31 or 32 in this chapter. And I realized that it was probably a bit too much. So I split it in half. So this one might be a little bit shorter than normal, but we'll see. Every time I say that, it ends up being right on time. So, so we pick up after a meeting with the king and his son of Hamor and Shechem. Jacob and his sons have decided not to make waves about Dinah. Jacob's 2 sons, Simeon and Levi, are planning revenge for their sister through deception, using a symbol of God as their tool. Again, we see the total disregard for God's guidance in such matters. So let's get a review. We left off at verse 12. Let me get the verses up here. There. Let's try there. Okay. And let's see. And we'll put our map up there for now. I do have some pictures today to show you. Let's see where Shechem is right there. And so that's where this story, and in trying to get some pictures, I found out some really neat information to kind of tie off today with it. Really ties in with this story that I never really realized before. So it'd be kind of fun. I might even tomorrow when I do the rest of this chapter, I might even really add that to the lesson. But I already have today's notes, so I'm not going to change today's. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife. It almost sounds a little bit like, I find that in reading this, that the Arabs, when it came to the interaction of how men chose women for their wives, was much more of a financial type of arrangement rather than a loving, caring kind of a relationship. I do believe that Shechem really had an eye for Dinah, and that he really loved her at least as much as he could after only meeting her, for a short period of time. A word that we kind of use is lust rather than love. I think we all can look back to our teenage years and realize that some of the girls or boys that we were first attracted to, sometimes when you meet them years later, you realize, oh, I'm glad I didn't decide on that one. They turn into somebody that you don't care for anymore. What's that old saying? You want to see? I heard a joke by a commentary one time that by somebody I like. He said that praise God for the unanswered prayers also, because all you need to prove that is go to a high school reunion, and that girl you thought you couldn't live without, and you were praying to God every day that you could meet her, and then you meet her at your high school reunion, and you say, praise God. Her personality didn't turn out to be what I thought it would be. So I thought that was kind of a neat. And again, I think I mentioned it yesterday. To me, when you're a Christian, probably the best place, and I am the worst violator of it, to look for young ladies and young men is where you go to worship God. And if you find a wife and husband that you can worship God together with, that is such a beautiful thing. So, picking up at verse 13. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully, and said, because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. So they felt justified and kind of like setting up this deception because of what they did to his sister. The sons of Jacob answered and spoke deceitfully. So let's look at a few verses on this. Psalms 12:2. They speak vanity, each one with his neighbor, with flattering lips and with a double heart do they speak. Proverbs 12:13. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. Isaiah 59:13. In transgression and lying against the Lord, and departing away from our God, speaking oppression and revolt, conceiving and uttering from the heart words of falsehood. There's a strong verse there. Micah 7:2. The good man has perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net. Let me turn that. Get bothered by the phone. I'll figure that out, whatever that call was or later. Where was I? The good man has perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net. That's going to be almost a prophecy, except this was written after this period of time. And Romans 12:19. See what Paul has to say. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. And that can be taken a couple of ways. And for the longest time, I used to look at that in a different aspect. But basically, let God handle it. That he has a better tools for true judgment, because he does it with righteousness. Now, it doesn't mean we can't defend ourselves. If somebody is actively attacking you, of course you can defend yourself. But to go on the offense against your brother because of anger and wrath. Let God handle it, and pray for peace that you can be. In fact, I think I'm going to mention that next. Just praying for our enemies. First Thessalonians 5:15. See that none render evil for evil unto any man, but ever follow that which is good, both among yourselves and to all men. And Matthew 28:12 and 13. And when they were assembled with the elders and had taken counsel, they gave large money unto the soldiers. This was after the burial of Jesus. The soldiers had dozed off. They were guarding the tomb. And when they woke up, they didn't see Jesus in the tomb. And that basically, this is what the Pharisees had told them to say and do. They were assembled with the elders and had taken counsel. They gave large money unto the soldiers, saying, say ye his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept. If they say unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister. Oh, no. I wanted to read one more verse. And if this come to the governor's ears, we will persuade him and secure you. So we will lie for you also. Which they never did. I truly believe that the Roman government tried really hard to try to find Jesus' body, and they to no success. So if the disciples did steal him, I don't know how they would have done it. Number one, the rock. Well, of course, there's 12 disciples, so they could have rolled the rock away. But usually, when you're doing something deceitfully, you don't do it in a way that Jesus rose from the dead. His blood clothes were there. I couldn't see, them carrying up a naked body out of the tomb, particularly their master, to try to bury him somewhere else and leave the bedclothes there. That would be a little weird. I think I would have trouble doing that as a person anyway. Back to what we were talking about here. Their response to Shechem and Hamor was a planned, calculated deception. So this is what they call lying in wait. We call it today. So this would be first degree murder because they're actually planning it. Okay, on to verse 14. And they sang unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised. So this is the deception they're going to do. For that were a reproach unto us. So if every male of you is circumcised, let's get a few verses when it talks about circumcision. It's in Genesis 17, 10 and 11. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every male child among you shall be circumcised. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and shall be the token of a covenant betwixt me and you. So you see, this is a token of a covenant between God and man. And they're going to use it as a deceptive tool. This is probably, I don't know, I try not to rank sin because God, even stealing a pen from work is sin to God. But I do believe that there's different levels of evil that will be judged. Your placement in hell is going to be worse depending on the level of your sin. There's a verse on that. I don't have it with me, but basically that those who sin certain sins are going to go to a worse place, like those 4 angels that did the Genesis 6 thing. Not 4 angels, the angels that did the Genesis 6 thing. They're buried so deep in hell that they say it's like in total darkness. It's like the worst place to be. And also in Exodus 12:48, this is the actual when Moses got the law. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. Then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. So basically, he said, they're telling him that because we're Jews and our daughter is Jewish, that we have a law that, and it's true, it is a law at that time frame. that all males need to be circumcised. And so if your men are willing to be circumcised, then we can intermarry between the two people groups. Realize this whole thing is going against God's plan completely, and I'm going to try to point that out. So basically, Hamor and Shechem agreed to such an extreme demand because circumcision was not only practiced among the Israelites, but some other ancient peoples also circumcised their males. Shechem and Hamor knew of this practice from the rituals of other nations. So for those of you wondering if we today should be circumcised or not, realize this was a token of a promise of ultimate salvation to the Jewish nation. I personally believe in, based on the requirement of the lambs being sacrificed, and Hebrews 9:22. I've got to get that verse. Let me get it real quick. Hebrews. So men, when you're in the house, you have to brew the coffee. Hebrews 9:22. And almost all things are by law purged with blood, and without the shedding of blood is no remission. So it almost can be symbolic a little bit. Because remember that the original sin was carried by the man, not the woman. And so this might be a token of the shedding of blood that's required for the remission of sins. But again, this all ended the day that Jesus died on the cross for our sins. And so it's still done today. It's very, very common, and even in America. But we are not bound to the law. But I know for ease of cleanliness and other reason, it's been a practice for many peoples, including America. More of a choice now, usually by the parents of a male baby boy. But I wouldn't rush out and do it just because of this token here. For like what it says in Romans 4:11. We received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of faith, which he had yet been uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all them that believe. Though they be not circumcised, that righteousness might be imputed unto them also. It's basically saying that, it's okay to be circumcised, but it's not a requirement that you can achieve righteousness without circumcision. That's more or less what that verse is saying. And also in Acts 10:44 through 48. This is a big council that happened, and the outcome of that council was that they weren't going to require Gentiles to be circumcised. While Peter yet spake these words, the Holy Ghost fell on them which heard the word. Now, these were Gentiles that the Holy Ghost actually fell on them, and Peter witnessed this. And they of the circumcision which believed were astonished, as many as came with Peter, because that on the Gentiles also was poured out the gift of the Holy Ghost. But they heard them speak with tongues and magnify God. Then answered Peter, Can any man forbid water that those should not be baptized which have received the Holy Ghost as well as we? And he commanded them to be baptized in the name of the Lord, then prayed they him to tarry certain days. So here, they realized that these Gentiles received the Holy Ghost, and they weren't circumcised. And that became a common term. If you were circumcised, it meant you were Jewish. If you were uncircumcised, it meant you were a Gentile. So that became pretty common in that time frame. So see that it was a sign for those under the law. But once Jesus died on the cross, it was not a requirement to be saved, as by the shedding of Jesus' perfect blood paid that price for all. Let's remember Ephesians 2:8 and 9. For grace we are saved through faith, and that not of ourselves, it is a gift of God. We'll see any requirements there, not of works, lest any man should boast. So there's nothing you can do outside of having faith in Jesus Christ and looking to him for your salvation. That there's nothing you can do to add to that. That's a really important thing. That would be a reproach, where it says that too. Well, we under our law require it. So that's going back to that verse real quick. And he said unto them, We cannot do this thing to give our sister the one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. So talking about the reproach unto us, basically saying that it's our law, and we couldn't allow that, that our daughter to marry somebody who is uncircumcised. So that's what they're saying there. And so over in Joshua 5, 2 through 9 is a great passage on this. This is to set this up a little bit. This is where Moses, because of the disobedience of the people prior to going into the promised land, they ended up wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. But during that time frame, all the babies that were born were uncircumcised. For some reason, they decided, maybe for cleanliness reasons or whatever, or they didn't have the right tools, that during the time that they're actually wandering in the wilderness, that all the new babies that were born, they went without being circumcised. So now you have a whole nation of people, males, that were not circumcised. Well, the law still applied here. So Joshua is told that he needs to circumcise all the all the males of the entire, who knows, it could be millions. So this is what this verse is about. So let's read through it. Joshua 5, 2 through 9. At that time, the Lord said unto Joshua, make these sharp knives and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. And Joshua made him sharp knives and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise. All the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness, by the way, after they came out of Egypt. That was all the males that were 20 years old and above. Now, all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness, by the way, as they came forth out of Egypt, they had not been circumcised. Well, the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, till all the people that were men of war which came out of Egypt were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, unto whom the Lord sware that he would not show them the land which the Lord sware unto their fathers, that he would give us a land flowing with milk and honey. Of course, that's Israel. Verse 7. And the children whom he raised up in their stead, them Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way, so during their travels. And it came to pass, when they had done circumcising all the people, that they abode in their place in the camp till they were whole. I realize this ain't a very pleasant procedure. That's why it's usually done as a baby. Babies don't, well, number one, it's easier to take care of. I'm a father of someone, but I had a son that I had to take care of from the circumcision, and so it's probably at least 3 to 5 days before it develops a good what do you call it, scab over it, where it stops hurting. So it's kind of painful for particularly the first 3 or 4 days, and especially for a man, an adult male. I don't know of anyone that's ever had it done as an adult, but I hear it's pretty painful, even with anesthesia and stuff. It's pretty sore for a few days. And the Lord said unto Joshua, this day have I rolled away the approach of Egypt from off you. Wherefore the name of the place is called Gilgal until this day. And I read this because I want you to realize that is why these two men decided to do this, is that they know how painful it's going to be for a few days. So they're going to take advantage of that. And that's how they're using God's perfect covenant blessing as a signal for their own evil desires. Another major sin here. So going back to Genesis 34:15. But in this will we consent unto you, if you will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. Then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters unto us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you'll not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do this thing because the young man deferred not. I like when the Bible does that. You got to really pay attention. Deferred not means, yes, it didn't bother them to do this thing. It almost sounds like a negative, but it's not. You got a double negative there, deferred and not to do this thing. because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. I will admit, I kind of feel bad for it. It really does seem like Shechem uh, was fairly honorable, and he didn't exactly approach this relationship correctly, but at least according to his upbringing, he was doing everything correctly. So he really seemed to love her. So I know that the Jacob and the boys were calling it rape. I'm not so sure that it was that close to rape. uh, how much Dinah was willing to do it or not is skeptical. It doesn't really say. Uh, so I'm just speculating a little bit. But being she was a teenager, and teenagers, their hormones are flying like crazy. Here comes a prince, the king's son. Maybe very attractive, but I can see that the desire there might be her own thoughts of protecting her virginity had gone out the window. But they felt justified because the men of Shechem treated Dinah, their sister, as a prostitute. But they persecuted the sign of God's covenant for their own violent purpose. And so, continuing on, verse 20. Let me just a note here on verse 18 and 19. The words pleased Hamor and Shechem. Despite the obvious sacrifice involved, Hamor and Shechem were pleased with the plan. Beyond the obvious deep attraction Shechem had for Dinah, they were also pleased to begin to marry into the family so large, wealthy, and influential. And realize that Jacob was very wealthy also, so that they could see this as a plus on both sides. And he was honorable than all the household of his father. Speaking on that, among the Canaanites of his time and place, Shechem was actually more honorable than others. He sincerely delighted in Jacob's daughter. And again, I do feel kind of sorry for him that this thing happened. And that's where I was going to stop for today. And so the next part, I'm going to talk about verse 20 here. And Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city and communed with the men of their city, saying, and we'll continue there tomorrow. Let me show you some pictures I got. I found some pictures of this area, and I didn't realize something that okay, this is modern day Shechem. It's from a distance. What's interesting is this mountain on the left and this mountain on the right are prominent I didn't realize this until I had was looking for these pictures. And I remember, I don't know if you guys remember. I know that Teresa, you were there, I believe, and Liz, and of course Olivia and Quentin, and Nick might have been there. The day we read that what they call the law that was written, there was. I may actually bring it up tomorrow because we'll have more time tomorrow, I think. But it's in Deuteronomy, and I had written a portion from Deuteronomy, I believe. Let me just go to that picture so I can tell you the right verses that are on the picture. I didn't even load these verses or anything. Here it is here. And, Deuteronomy 11, 22 through 30, and also 27, 1 through 13. And I think I read the account in Joshua 8, 30 through 35. But this mountain on the left, I can't see my, okay, that's my cursor. I get my pointer again. So Mount Gerizim is on the left. This is Shechem in the middle, and this is the Mount of Blessings, and this is the Mount Ebal, and this is the one I mentioned in that class, the Mount of Curses. And right smack dab in the middle is Shechem. Shechem actually has a lot of positive history because Joseph, when he comes along, is going to actually be buried here. So once it's taken back over by Joshua, it becomes a Jewish town, And so at this particular phase, of course, when we get done with this, pretty much the city is gone. There's nobody left, except, and the women and children are taken as slaves. So that's the end of the story, but we'll get to it tomorrow. But I found it interesting that this particular blessings and curses is right where this incident happened. Like God is reminding the people of what He expects. And so, got a couple of minutes. Let me get Joshua 8:30 through 35 up here real quick. I want to just read it. Joshua 8:30. Okay, let's read through this. Joshua built an altar unto the Lord of God of Israel in Mount Ebal. Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded the children of Israel, as it was written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stones over which no man hath lifted up any iron, and they offered thereon burnt offerings unto the Lord, and sacrificed peace offerings. And in whole there were the stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel. And all of Israel and their elders and officers and their judges stood on this side, the ark, and on that side before the priests of the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, as well as strangers, and he that was born among them, half of them over against Mount Gizrim, and half of them over against Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded before, that they should bless the people of Israel. And after he would read all the words of the law, the blessings and the cursings, according to all that is written in the book of the law. And the one I think I read before was, I think it was Deuteronomy 27. I just wanted to show you a piece of what I was talking about, sort of refresh your memory. Deuteronomy 27, 1 through 13. Oh, that was the other one. Deuteronomy 11, 22. I can't remember from memory, so I just wanted to mention one. And so it'll sound familiar to you. That's the ceremony. Must be a different Deuteronomy. It was basically I went through a list of different commandments to remember, and at the end I was saying all the people said, "Amen," and everybody would repeat, "Amen." And so I don't know if you remember me doing that little exercise. I don't have the right verses here. I'll try to find them for tomorrow, though. But now it makes a lot of sense that this incident happened here, and this is where God decided to remind them of His law on an annual basis. It was a requirement to come here annually and to lead and read the blessings and the curses. So let's end with a word of prayer. And oh, dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you so much, Lord, for reminding us and letting us know your personality and to know what you like and dislike, and that we can apply that to our lives, and we continue to strive to be more and more like the people that you want us to be. And we look forward to that day when we join you and be able to worship you in the heavenly kingdom, and also in the millennium kingdom, and into eternity. And we love you and we thank you so much. In Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen. Okay. So we will readdress the rest of this tomorrow. Yeah, it's not a very fun part, but it's only a few verses actually. So it's not like really drawn out, and it's not real descriptive. So I'll see you later.